So anyway, moving on to the Pitt's India Act of 1784, let's try and look at the premise of this whole thing. So the Regulating Act of 1773 and also the Settlement Act of 1781 were not really successful because the officials of the East India Company had gotten so used to the kind of power that they had for the last 150, 175 years. It was obvious that they were not going to be okay with letting go of the kind of power and clout that they had, which is why they were not cooperating with the government and they were not coming to terms with the idea of being regulated. So, to fix the shortcomings of the Regulating Act of 1773 and to see to it that the company officials follow the given orders, William Pitt, the Prime Minister of the British government at the time, introduced the Pitt's India Act of 1784. So, with the Pitt's India Act, Indian affairs came directly under the control of the British government in Britain. And like I said earlier, it basically demarcated and distinguished between the commercial and political functions of the company. So when I say they demarcated and distinguished between the commercial and political functions of the company, what I mean is that they had two bodies. One was the Court of Directors and another one was the Board of Control. It resulted in dual control or joint government in India by the Crown in Great Britain and the British East Indian Company, with the Crown having the ultimate authority. The Court of Directors had powers over the commercial affairs of the company. They were more like the Corporate Affairs Ministry, to put it in simple words. And the Board of Control, on the other hand, had more political powers to supervise and direct all operations of the civil and military government, or to manage the revenues of the British possessions in India. Like, for example, we could call it the Home Ministry or the Defense Ministry because of the powers that they had. This is just a verbal explanation for your understanding. Don't take it literally, but I'm just trying to make a point here. So, in effect, the Court of Directors was controlled by the East India Company, and the Board of Control was controlled by the government, which was run by the British Parliament. So for the first time, and pay attention to this, for the first time, the company's territories in India started being referred to as the British possessions in India. And moreover, the British government was given the supreme control over the company's affairs and its administration in India. Thus, it was becoming more and more evident that the East India Company was slowly getting reduced to a simple managerial body. The East India Company was no more a powerful body with the kind of control that it used to have over its territories earlier. What a bummer for them, huh?